Peace, and welcome to another episode of the Quranic Remedies, where we spend about 20 minutes exploring a page from the Quran together and seeing how we can apply the verses to our lives. And hopefully, with God's permission, it helps us heal our brain, body, mind, and soul. So today we'll be reading from chapter 2, the cow, from verses 234 up until 237. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge to God from the accursed devil. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the merciful, the gracious. والذين يتوفون منكم ويذرون أزواجا يتربصن بأنفسهن 4 أشهر و10 فإذا بلغن أجلهن فلا جناح عليكم فيما فعلن في أنفسهن بالمعروف والله بما تعملون خبير. And those who are caused to die among you while leaving wives, they shall wait for themselves 4 months and 10 days. And when they have reached their term, then there is no blame on you concerning what they do for themselves in kindness. And God is conversant with what you do. ولا جناح عليكم فيما عرضتم به من خطبة النساء أو أكننتم في أنفسكم علم الله إنكم ستذكرونهن ولكن لا تواعدوهن سرا إلا أن تقولوا قولا معروفا ولا تعزموا عقدة النكاح حتى يبلغ الكتاب أجله واعلموا أن الله يعلم ما في أنفسكم فاحذروه واعلموا إن الله غفور حليم. And there is no blame on you concerning what you propose with for the engagement of women or conceal within yourselves. God knows that you will remember them, but do not promise them secretly except to say a speech of kindness. And do not resolute the contract of the marriage until the registry reaches its term. And know that God knows what's within yourselves, so beware of Him. And know that God is forgiving and clement. لا جناح عليكم إن طلقتم النساء ما لم تمسوهن أو تفرضوا لهن فريضة ومتعوهن على الموسع قدره وعلى المقتر قدره متاعا بالمعروف حقا على المحسنين. There is no blame on you if you divorce women whom you have not touched or imposed an obligation for them. So provide for them. Upon the wealthy is his capability, and upon the penurious is his capability, providing in kindness as a duty upon the benevolent. وَإِن طَلَّقْتُمُوهُنَّ مِن قَبْلِ أَن تَمِسُّوهُنَّ وَقَدْ فَرَضْتُمْ لَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً فَنِصْفَ مَا فَرَضْتُمْ إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُونَ أَوْ يَعْفُو الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ عُقْدَةُ النِّكَاحِ وَإِن تَعْفُوا أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَنْسُوا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. But if you divorce them before touching them, and you have already imposed an obligation for them, then half of what you have imposed, unless they excuse or the one whose hand is the marriage contract excuses, and to excuse is nearer to piousness. But do not forget the favor between you. Indeed, God is cognizant of what you do. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. God, the Great, said the truth. Now, God is carrying on in regards to dealing with these relationships, our spousal relationships, marriage, divorce, engagement. Now, when you do die, obviously some of us will leave wives behind. God is telling us the term for these wives to spend in mourning and also in cleansing. So, as we already discussed, when a girl is divorced, she's supposed to stay for 3 menstrual cycles, just so that she would clean her body from what is going on due to what the man left behind in physical terms. It's a cleansing process, from what I understand. Now, God is also saying that these women that have been left behind and their husbands have died, these women have to stay for 4 months and 10 days, which is about the same of 3 menstrual cycles as well. And when they reach their term, and this is something that is very important, the reason why we get married, it's because of the objective. It is because of the way, one, that God has created for us spouses and pairs. And then the other thing is some of us are building for their hereafter, and we need wives to have these children that we want to raise as God-fearing people, to carry on the society and to carry on serving God as a humanity as a whole. But people take these relationships a little bit more seriously than what they are. People attach themselves to each other in a way that is a little bit obsessive, and it's kind of wrong. Because you start to think about the person more than you're thinking about your relationship with God. Because if you are really attached to God the way that God wants us to attach ourselves to, it is very easy. Well, not easy, but it's comprehensible, and it's somewhat easy to let go of certain people, whether they die or they choose to leave. We're okay with it because we understand the reality. The reality is if I'm going to be overly romantic, overly possessive, overly obsessive with somebody, one, they're more likely not capable of sustaining that for 30 or 40 years. That it might get daunting on the other person, and this person is bothering me too much. They're reflecting, or they're trying to get my attention more than I can give it. And I cannot give that attention back because one, I don't have the capability, nor do I have the time. I cannot submit to you, and you should not be submitting to me in that sense, in that overly love and overly obsession. And the reality is on the day of judgment, you yourself who is obsessive, who is taking too much from your spouse's time and resources, you're not going to go look for them when you're both resurrected. That's not going to be the first thought that's going to come to your mind. Nor are you going to look for your mother, nor are you going to look for your father, your children, anyone in the world. What you're going to be looking for is the results of what you did. You're not going to be concerned what that person did after you died. You're not going to be concerned of what this person is thinking of you now or what is he doing now. You're going to be concerned about the relationship that truly mattered, the relationship with God. You should be in a position to let go of somebody at any instant, despite you might still love them, despite that your relationship is going amazing. But if some way, somehow they leave, yes, it might hurt you, but you should be okay with it. You should be able to let go. Some of us need some time to heal from that breaking of the bond, but it's not going to crush us. There are people, unfortunately, in this day and age, they make their wives or people promise me that you will never see anyone after I leave, or I know we can't be together, so promise me that you will never love anyone else. These are all just concepts of delusions because you are trying to push the person into having this bond with you that is not real, that is not true. It's based upon delusions, and most of the time it's based upon lust. It's based upon this physical desirement of this person where to you it hurts you. You're a jealous entity that the thought alone that if this person is going to exercise the right and find someone else, it's the end of the world to you. Because this is where when you are disconnected from God, these relationships become very intense, but they don't become sustainable. And this is something that a lot of teenagers and young people experience because it's the first time they're learning about these relationships, what love is, the physical desiring of somebody, but at the same time, they did not have a strong relationship with God where everything else doesn't really matter because it's going to go away instantly. This is something that I know. But these wives that are left behind, where their husbands died, these widows, right? If they opt to, after 4 months and 10 days, on the 11th day after the time they had to wait, if they go and get married, there's absolutely no harm or blame, nor are they less of a human being, despite how society looks like, oh, well, she shouldn't be getting married so quick because her husband just died. No, she can. Because we're looking at a world right now where certain concepts have been pushed to us only within the last 100, 150 years, where they keep trying to force women in the workforce. This is especially in the West. Yes, during all of history, women always had the capability of working and building and creating a trade or doing a service or doing a business. Was always permissible to them. But most women, they tend to like to sit at home, raise children, and be taken care of because it makes them feel special. It makes them feel desired and wanted and loved. But because a lot of women do not enter the workforce for a very long time in history, it was a duty upon the people around her to make sure she has what she needs, she's provided for. So a marriage was the way that many people turned to for her to get what she needs, for her to carry on. Because as I said, marriage is a business. You are giving me something and I am giving you something. What are you giving me? The ability to allow the society to move forward, or you're giving me the ability to access you for us to share a physical bond. But in return, I will take care of you and I will pay for this. I understand people can see this in a very makes it about sex. No, it makes it about her right. Because actually, if you do not make it about the money, then you are using her and not giving her value. The value is measured by what you're giving her. Even if you're not very rich or you're extremely rich, How much is she worth to you that you want her to be happy? Now, I am not a lady. I'm not very, I can see from what I learned, women are very good at realizing when someone is giving them love. So they look for those things. It's if somebody remembers them or does something for them or gives them something, they're very good at recognizing it if they appreciate the person. To me, love is giving something without without wanting something in return. It's sacrifice. You give something and you're happy that that person is content with what they've been given. They're showing you the signs of content and gratitude. You feel like this is something that is positive. And as God says that he expects his servants to be grateful. How are we grateful? Is when we recognize when somebody has given us something to make us be a better person or to have a better situation, and God gave us everything. So that's why we should be always grateful for what God has given us. And gratitude is not the recognition, is the disregarding of love and not seeing how a person spent something on you to make you in a better position. So this is something that is very important to people, which is the taking and giving of wealth to each other. Now, God is saying about these women, after they divorce, they're allowed to get married, but people are also allowed to signal to them that, hey, I'm interested in you. I understand your husband just died. I understand it, like the term is done. I'm interested in you if you are willing. So I can show that, but at the same time, I can conceal that my desirement. There is no blame on me, as God says. There is no blame on me for wanting to take care of somebody because I have some attraction to them, despite they just lost their husband. If she wants to engage, there is no blame on her in what she does in truth and kindness and what God has ordered, and there's no blame in me to reveal to her. But this not only with widows, but this has got to do with any kind of relationship when it comes down to the concept of marriage. You should make it very aware to the person that, hey, I am interested. Are you interested? Let's cut to the chase and get to the truth instead of having to sit and constantly flirt with each other and then nobody proposes or nobody engages. This is something that is not good, right? You can share you can tell somebody that you love them. You can tell somebody like, hey, I believe you're attractive, even if they might be engaged, but you can say your feelings, but you also know your limits and you tell them, I know my limits. May God bless you, or God really made you beautiful. These are not things that are wrong, but this is not something that you should be going for. It should be from the truth, from the heart. Now, God is also telling you in regards to when you do start to engage with somebody, there is the concept of the registry or the book. So I am going to marry somebody. We came to an agreement that I'm going to give her $10,000. We've written the contract. There's people who's witnessed it. Now me and this person are engaged publicly. People know that I am marrying this person. That this person now is engaged to me. I have an obligation. The obligation is I have to give her $10,000. I give her the $10,000. I've completed the term. I've completed the book. Now she's my wife. Now that's it. We're married. Okay? Now, during those times, there are sometimes people who put a waiting period as well, like 3 months, and I will give you this, and I will buy the house. As we're fulfilling this time, we're allowed to go on dates. We can hold each other's hands. We can go sit and watch a movie together. We can have these small moments of engagements. But God is telling us, God knows what's in our heart. And the human being, for some reason, with the opposite sex, it's very easy to fall into these moments of physical desirements. And God is telling you, watch out, I know what's in your hearts. I know what you guys are thinking and what you guys would like to do, but do not do it. Do not consummate the religion. Do not consummate the marriage until you fulfill the terms that you guys agreed with. Because it's about what you said and what you did. Because if you did it before that, then you've entered into a sin, a pretty major sin. You're committing obscenities at this point. You are disrespecting your spouse. You are disrespecting that girl, and she's disrespecting her husband because she's pulling him down from his word, and his worth, and you are now taking something that's not yours yet. Okay? Now, these are things that are very important. But one thing here that is also cool in this verse is God's telling you that you have to make it apparent. There is no secret relationships. You can talk to somebody in private, but when it becomes now that you are both agreement that you would like to get married, that you guys would like to engage into physical attraction to each other or physical commitments to each other. If you are married as a husband and you know that your wife is not accepting right now because of her concept, because of her dealing with jealousy, that she does not want to be in a polygamous relationship, and she said, I don't want to see you with another girl. You can't go behind her back and marry someone else and say, oh no, God told me, because this is not how you approach that matter. You either have to discuss it with your first wife, saying that this is something that is my right, and this is you having to deal with jealousy. I don't owe you, nor do you own me, but we have an obligation to each other. But God is the one who owns me, and God is the one who owns you, and you should not be thinking of me in that manner, that I am your property and I'm yours forever. This is not how life is, and we deal with that jealousy. But if it's not something that she wants to experience, there's also the option of separating. I'm not telling you to separate from your wives, but I'm telling you to go back to what God has been telling you and the rights that you have. But let's assume that she still doesn't want to, and you are accepting to stay with her because you do not want to sever that tie. It does not mean that you have the right now to go behind her back, because even if you think that you had your legal marriage, you've deceived her. You've actually deceived that person. You've actually backstabbed your wife. You've ruined your relationship. Because it's not about her, about the rights of God, and God gave you the right. It's about the obligation you have that person, and God told you, do not take secret lovers. So now, there are times when we are in these moments of engagements, the marriage has still not been fulfilled. We're still coming up with what we want to give to each other. There is no blame if I break these relationship, if I break this engagement, right? But I still have to do it in kindness. I still have to do it in a way where I am capable of, if I'm capable of paying and helping this girl, I will do it. But if I did not give an obligation, and there is no blame on me, nor is there a blame if we'd never consummated the marriage, for me to just break the marriage off. And there is no waiting period, from a different verse. There is no waiting period for a woman where the women did not consummate the marriage, which shows that the 3 menstrual cycles is for her to clean herself after the physical attraction, or the physical love that occurs in a marriage. Now, there is something here that is very, very, very important. You cannot take back from what you have been giving them, what you gave them. Okay? Because even if we did not get to the point where the registry is filled and I gave you some jewelry, I gave you some gifts, oh, well, now we're not going to finish the marriage, we're not going to do their thing, we're going to cut this engagement. I can't be like, well, can I get the jewelry back? Can I get this stuff back? This is such a terrible thing that actually happens a lot in the Middle East. This is what they start to engage with somebody's daughter, and then the daughter and the son don't want to go through the process, so the son's parents start to ask for the stuff back. God is saying that you can't. But what you can, but if we did agree to what the obligation is, if I said I'm going to give you $10,000 for us to get married, and we end up getting divorced, but we have already agreed, I have to give you $5,000. Unless if you forego that, or the person, your guardian, forgoes it, if I'm dealing with your guardian in regards to this marriage contract. And to forgo is closer to piousness, because it's not about the material wishes. It's about the contract. So I got something, you got something. But God is telling me I should give you half for taking your time. But if you're okay with not taking that half, then that's you showing piousness. Okay? And remember, it is always about the objective. It's always about the hereafter. Do not think that you are going to own these people. Your husband is not your property. Your wife is not your property. They have rights, and it's about the goal, the hereafter. So you gave something, you shouldn't be worried about what you gave, that you need to get it back, because to you, your wealth is important. Your wife ended up not liking you because you say, let's assume that at the beginning you were very attractive, but you became extremely obsessive, that you needed so much attention, that you sat and had to call her constantly, and you're asking her what's wrong all the time, and you need to text her, and if she didn't text in a certain time, you start to have these negative thoughts, and you're always expressing to her how much you're attracted, how much you love her, where it's becoming very exhausting for the other person. Because no man, no human, no woman, no creature is capable of sustaining that kind of attention. The only entity that is capable of this, of receiving such obsession, is God, because God can handle it. God appreciates it, and God responds to it. But a human, they cannot. You cannot submit yourself to your spouse, and your spouse is not supposed to submit themselves to you. If this is occurring, if you are finding yourself always obsessing about your spouse or somebody you like, it is because at this point you are being tested with your relationship with God. There is no blame, as God says, that if you remember them. I have the ability, with God's grace, to talk to somebody, and it can be of a romantic nature, and the romance is to give and take, but it can have a romantic nature in the discussion, and without the intentions of talking about physical love and sex and all the bad things. It's just telling the person that they're beautiful, spending some time with them, helping them in their life, and there is a mutual agreement, a mutual attraction. But as soon as the conversation is done, you should have the ability to, that's it, it's off for now. I have to go concentrate on something else. If the devil is trying to get you to obsess about that person, then you need to deal with that. You need to deal that very quickly. Relationships is really a big portion of why the Quran was sent. The relationship with the creation is something that is very important for us to handle it correctly. And the relationship with the Creator, this is the most important thing, because that is really what you're connected to forever. Forever. That will never change. And the worst thing is if that relationship is severed, especially in the end, because in the end there is no way to mend it. Here on earth you have a chance to mend it. Everybody has a chance to mend it, and I believe so. You might have to repent. You might have to go through a lot of admission, a lot of confessions. And just like all relations, it can become really amazing, and it can become a little bit tested, but you never let go when it comes down to the relationship with God. Everyone else around you, I'm telling you, they're leaving. They're all going to leave. Every single one of you is going to leave. You yourself might leave and leave people behind. But if your relationship with God is right, you'd recognize that these people around you were sent to you as a token of love. God created them for you to understand how to love them. But love does not mean that I have to have it right now forever. Because even when we get to heaven, by the way, even when we're sitting in heaven, because of how strong our relationship is with God, we are capable of handling the relationship with all creation in a way that it's healthy, where it does not start to become toxic, obsessive, wrong. And then we don't judge other people because they're not showing this overly unattainable, unsustainable love, what people presume is love. You shouldn't be thinking that your spouse is yours forever here and in the hereafter. You shouldn't bar somebody from marrying somebody just because they don't love you. You don't need to sit and obsess about somebody, and you should have the ability to let go and allow the people to do what God has given them as a right. And who are you to judge? If she's divorced, she's divorced. If she's a widow, she can get married. What else is there to discuss? If the man is married and his wife said he can have another wife, well, it's God's given right. If she says you can't have another wife, I'm going to talk to you about it because it's my God's given right. But if we do not get to a proper agreement, I'm not going to go behind your back just because it's a God-given right, but she has a God-given right of her not being deceived. So with that said, we do have a Telegram group if you want to carry on the discussion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace and blessings upon you from God.